Hello, my name is Tim Pafundi, and I'm here to tell you about the trial of the 8 British soldiers and Captain Thomas Preston, who were put on trial for murder for the deaths in the Boston Massacre. On the night of March 5th, 1770, tensions between British soldiers and American colonists turned violent in the streets of Boston. In the end, 5 colonists lay dead: Samuel Gray, Samuel Maverick, James Caldwell, Crispus Attucks, and Patrick Carr. The event would become known as the Boston Massacre, and the trial that took place would become a defining moment in both American legal and political history. The 8 British soldiers and Captain Thomas Preston were arrested and charged with murder. How could they expect to receive a fair trial so far away from home in a hostile land? The colonial outrage that swirled around the trial threatened to boil over with the fear that the British soldiers would be lynched before they could stand trial. However, something surprising happened. The British soldiers were represented by none other than John Adams, a staunch patriot and future president. Adams believed that justice must be blind, even in the face of public outcry. The trial was a chaotic affair. Both sides presented their case. However, John Adams presented a masterful defense of the 8 soldiers and Captain Preston in 2 separate trials. In summation, he expertly called into question each eyewitness, casting enough doubt that the jury acquitted Captain Preston and 6 of the 8 soldiers. 2 soldiers, Hugh Montgomery and Matthew Kilroy, were found guilty of lesser charge of manslaughter and received a branding on the thumb as punishment. This trial tells us that despite the uproar and public outcry, law is still the rule of the day. It's remarkable that the British soldiers received a fair trial and won acquittal on a serious charge of murder. The outcome of the trial, while viewed unfairly by the citizens of Boston, showed that due process was important even at the time. John Adams wrote on the 3rd anniversary of the trial, "It was, however, one of the most gallant, generous, manly, and disinterested actions of my whole life, and one of the best pieces of service I ever rendered to my country. Judgment of death against those soldiers would have been as foul a stain upon this country as the executions of Quakers or witches anciently. As the evidence was, the verdict of the jury was exactly right." The impact of this trial is important for the fact that due process was given to the accused soldiers and they received a fair trial. It set a precedent that people are governed by the rule of law and not by mob rule. We are still living under that legacy today.